How's everyone doing? Good. Okay, great. Let's get started. Giving a 21st century solution for all. In January of 2007, the world arguably changed forever. Steve Jobs, a personal hero of mine, announced the release of the iPhone first generation, and believe it or not, it had a whopping 4 gigabytes in its first release. The iPhone brought two major things: mobile adoption of mobile technology, meaning that instead of accessing the Internet of Things, or the World Wide Web, from a desktop or a laptop like this one, we could access the Internet in real time in our pockets. And secondly, it brought the Internet in our pockets, of course. And as we see over here, that nearly 3/4 of the world will use just their smartphones to access the Internet by 2025. We're seeing the changing of habits, ladies and gentlemen. We're seeing that we're accessing Google, Facebook, all of these different websites, Wikipedia. If you like Wikipedia rabbit holes like I do, you're going to access it more often than not from your phone rather than from your computer. On the contrary, while we do see the emergence of this great mobile adoption and this great mobile technology, it's not necessarily always the best thing. We see the weakening of two extremely important things in our society that a lot of us speakers talked about today: happiness and community. We see that according to a psychologist, Jean Twenge, who wrote the book iGen in 2017, she found data that showed that Generation Z, for example, is hanging out less with their friends as this technology came out. We also see that there is less dating going on. And finally, we see the increasing of loneliness in this generation. And it's not just this generation alone. This is just the data presented in my presentation. We all have this same feeling of being in our own boxes. No more going to places to meet people, to date them. We use Tinder. No more going to the movies with your friends. We use Netflix in bed. So we're all personalized in our own boxes. And it's not necessarily the best thing for society. Because we see here that according to the United Nations World Happiness Report in 2018, that the United States dropped from the 14th happiest country in the world to the 18th happiest country in the world. We're not as happy as we used to be. And disclaimer, causality is not the point. These correlations do not explain the causation of what I'm trying to say. However, what I am saying is that as we have seen the emergence of technology, we have seen the decrease in the subtraction of community and happiness. So, how can we bring back community and happiness to our lives? So, one of my favorite books that I have ever read in my life came out, I believe, in 2013 by none other than Adam Grant, a professor of organizational psychology at the University of Pennsylvania Wharton School of Business. And he makes the argument, in Give and Take, a great book cover, that there are 3 different types of people. There are givers, there are takers, and there are matchers. Now, he makes the argument by suggesting that this is all based on the psychology of reciprocity. So for example, matchers, they view in their mind that if they get something from someone, they have to give that someone something back just to reciprocate. And with takers, we see that they put their needs above everyone else's, and in every single interaction that they have with anyone in life, they're trying to optimize and maximize the amount of benefits that they could gain. And then with givers, you see that they're not necessarily trying to optimize their interactions in terms of personal self-benefit. Rather, what they're trying to do is just optimize the relationship, but above all, optimize the well-being of who they're giving to. So why would I be a giver if I can be a taker? isn't it kind of stupid to be a giver? Why would I give to charity? Why would I give my friends gifts? Why would I give anyone anything if I'm losing? Well, that's the trick question. You're actually not losing by giving. You're gaining a lot. We see here that givers are indeed more successful. According to this chart, with the accumulation of all the evidence and data provided from Adam Grant's book, Give and Take, we see that there are, essentially in terms of success, takers and matchers are at the exact average of success. Givers are, on the other hand, are the least successful people in their careers, but above all, they're the most successful people in their careers. So what's going on? Well, we see that you have to be a giver to the right people. Don't be a giver with the wrong person who you know that is going to take from you at the end of the day. Be a giver to the person who's going to provide you opportunities in the future and use their giving. Because honestly, giving is contagious. We see that according to an analysis by McKinsey and Company in April 2013, that giving is literally contagious. They did an analysis where they had all these people from Harvard University analyze the 9/11 files from the CIA, and they found that the most effective intelligence analysts were the ones who gave each other information. They found that we see that when you put a ton of givers in the same exact room, they give each other knowledge. They give each other encouragement. When I'm sitting here and listening to all these wonderful speakers, you all are giving me ideas, and you're giving me encouragement. You're giving me confidence to be up here. You all are givers. Whereas if you put takers in the same room, no one's going to be successful. Because the thing is that giving is absolutely contagious. When you give someone something, they feel so good about being gifted something just out of the random act of kindness and benevolence that they feel not even obligated. They just subconsciously feel like they want to give back to the world. You create this supply chain of goodness. Giving is culture. Giving is community. And not only that, but in addition to givers being more successful, we see that givers are indeed happier than both takers and matchers. In fact, there was a study by the University of California, Berkeley, and California State University, which found that people who were told in a control group to give something to someone else, they actually had a higher spike in dopamine, for example. They were happier. They did an MRI scan on their brains, and they found that these people were happier than those who were in the control group that were told to only give themselves something rather than give something to someone else. Look, the point is that if you are a giver, in addition to giving other people opportunities so that they could create other opportunities for other people, you're just genuinely going to be a happier person. And isn't that what community is all about? In this day and age, we see that being a giver makes you more successful, it makes you happier, and above all, it enhances our community. So what does it mean for all of us sitting in this room? I see arguably one of the most diverse crowds I have seen in my life. I see young people, I see older people, I see middle-aged people, I see people of all different colors, I see people of all different four corners of the world. Now, imagine if we were all givers in this room, and I'm quietly assuming we are. Imagine if we all worked in the same place. Imagine if we all went to the same school. We would create this network effect of giving amongst each other. For example, these speakers gave me really great ideas that I wanted to use in my speech. So now I'm elucidating those great ideas to all of you. I am sure that we could all sit down for a moment and reflect on all the great opportunities that we've been gifted by someone else, but in turn we recycled that givingness to someone else. So I propose one thing before I end my talk. We need to support something that I call giver industries. I define giver industries as groups of people, whether they're entrepreneurs in the private sector, nonprofit sector, even high schoolers, middle schoolers, who are working on great products and services that are genuinely good for the world. Does your product or service harm or help the people? Do your efforts, do your actions in your personal life harm or help other people? That's the first question that you need to ask if you want to be a quote-unquote giverpreneur. Now, secondly, are you creating givers along the way? Because if you're not a giver. Because givers create other givers, and other givers create more givers. So in this day and age, we see that with the decrease of people being together, with the lack of just the general public square, now more than ever, we need to be givers. And on a final note, we need to give globally. We have some of the world's largest problems. We have climate change, we have poverty, income inequality. If we supported these giverpreneurs, then we'd have a generation, as the previous speaker said with the Dalai Lama, we'd have a generation without violence, without war, and above all, only peace. Giving is community, giving is success, giving is happiness. Thank you.